Fortnite Chapter 1, the game that revolutionized the gaming scene as a whole. Games that revolve around the whole aspect of shooting was always a fun concept that everyone could enjoy, but it wasn't really unique. These games that only have shooting aren't bad at all, but I think over time they start to get really repetitive and not fun at all. What made Fortnite truly stand out from every other game was the building aspect and how exploring the map in itself was like a journey. The rise of Fortnite started off with how optimized the game was, how easy it was to understand, and the pure enjoyment that came with getting a win in a match filled with countless other people. Back then, getting a win was truly a hard task to achieve because just like you, every other person in the lobby wasn't that good, and it also seemed like everyone was simply learning the fundamental aspects of what makes this game so entertaining. I guess in a way, you could compare Fortnite to something like the Hunger Games. The game also being free to play was another huge bonus considering that it allowed for everyone to be able to play it. Another aspect of the game that wasn't really new, but Fortnite definitely helped become popular was the whole Battle Pass thing. Dota 2 helped introduce the whole Battle Pass, but Fortnite allowed for it to become even more mainstream. You could unlock exclusive skins, exclusive emotes, and you could even earn more items to help you along the way. Fortnite did become mainstream with the whole Battle Royale thing, but there was already a fan base before Battle Royale. Fortnite was first released at the 2011 Spike Video Game Awards. Fortnite became available for early access for those who pre-ordered the game on July 21st. Battle Royale would then be released as free-to-play on September 26th of 2017. Before any individual numbers of seasons were introduced, there was something called preseason, which is also known as Season 0. This wasn't really a true season considering that it was more of a test phase for Battle Royale. This season would start on September 12th and conclude on October 25th. The first ever actual season will start on October 27th of 2017 and conclude on December 13th of 2017. The season shop would be introduced and players could use the virtual currency known as V-Bucks to purchase cosmetics. Season 2 of Fortnite started on December 14th of 2017 and ended on February 21st of 2018. The whole theme around this particular season would revolve around nights. Some concepts in this season included replacing the season shop with the battle pass, giving free cheers and rewards to everyone, and many more game features. The new locations of this season would include Tilted Towers, Haunted Hills, Junk Junction, Snobby Shores, and Shifty Shafts. Season 3 would start on the 22nd of February and end on the 30th of April. The theme around this season was based on space. During this season, there appeared to be a meteor which is rapidly approaching the island. There would only be one new location, which is Lucky Landing. Now for Season 4, which is the season that I started playing, and this can probably be said for many other people. Season 4 would be based on superheroes, and it started from May 1st and ended on July 11th. All of the meteor fragments from last season would play a huge role and result in a new POI known as Dusty Divot. There was also a bunch of Fortnite lore in this season, if you can even call it that, and everyone experienced the Rocket event. This event would create a rift in the sky, and this allowed for objects such as a Viking ship, dinosaur bones, and an anchor to be placed onto the map. The new POIs would include Dusty Divot, Risky Reels, Hero Mansion, Villain Lair, the Open Soccer Stadium, and the movie set. Season 5 would then arrive and start from July 12th all the way to September 26th. Moisty Mire was replaced with the huge desert along with the town. Anarchy Acres was replaced with something known as Lazy Links. There would also be an enormous Viking village on a mountain close to Snobby Shores. This season would also feature a cube that would roll around and be important in starting Season 6. The theme of Season 6 would revolve around corruption, and it started from September 27th of 2018 and went all the way to December 5th of 2018. The cube activated in the start of Season 6 and lifted Loot Lake into the air. It would also give Fortnite mirrors, and the cube would spawn in thick fog around the map and new cube monsters. The Fortnite community would then experience the butterfly event on November 4th. All the fog and cube fragments would then be erased off the map, and this would conclude the end of Fortnite Mirrors in Season 6. I also forgot to mention the huge iceberg that would appear on the map. The new POIs of this season were Leaky Lake, Corrupted Areas, Floating Island, and the Haunted Castle. Season 7 would be focused on the whole winter aspect, and this season will start on December 6th of 2018 and end on February 27th of 2019. Obviously, this wasn't the first Christmas event, but I feel like it was the first true Christmas event, just because of how nostalgic it was. Obviously, this wasn't the first Christmas event, but I feel like it was the first true Christmas event, just because of how nostalgic it was. Unfortunately, the entirety of Greasy Grove would be freezed, and Flesh Factory would also be completely destroyed. We would also get the introduction of Happy Hamlet, Polar Peak, and Frosty Flights. The lore of this season revolved around the Ice King and him creating an ice storm for the whole island. I already mentioned every POI of this season, but there was also the introduction of the block. The theme of Season 8 would focus on pirates, and it started on February 18th of 2019 and ended on May 8th. Season 8 would continue the storyline from Season 7, and it showed the prisoner creating a volcano and a whole new jungle biome. Wailing Woods and Lazy Links were destroyed, while Lazy Links was replaced with Lazy Lagoon. Near the end of the season, there would be an event which would be for unvaulting items that were previously vaulted. The following 6 items would appear: the drum gun, the tactical submachine gun, bouncers, planes, the infinity blade, and the grappler. The winner was the drum gun, and the event will conclude with all of the players going out of the vault. Surprisingly, this would cause the volcano to erupt and 7 rocks would hit Retail Row, Polar Peak, and Tilted Towers. Sunny Steps, Lazy Lagoon, and the volcano were all of the new POIs that were added to the game. Before I get into Season 9 and Season X, I would just like to say that I think these first 8 Fortnite seasons are some of the most entertaining in all of gaming. And even though it may have seemed like the quality was going down little by little each season was still fun in its own way, and that's what made each of them so special. Season 9 would start on May 9th and end on July 31st of 2019. The theme was also focused on the future. Tilted Towers and Retail Row, which were previously destroyed by the volcano, were rebuilt and they became known as Neo Tilted and Mega Mall. This season would also feature one of the coolest events in Fortnite history, which was the Mecha Team Leader versus the Monster. This event would be very important and very hype for the whole fan base of Fortnite, considering that there was a whole countdown until the fight actually began. This would also determine how the future of the island would turn out. After some fighting, the robot would take the monster out of the map. The robot walked out and it seemed like he was victorious, but suddenly the monster jumped out of the water and landed on the robot. The mecha leader would lose his left arm in the process, but then he would punch into the vault and absorb the energy. He would then grab the statue at Neo Tilted, which turned out to be a massive sword, and as the two massive creatures leapt at each other, the robot would stab the monster in the head and ultimately finish it off. The final season of Chapter 1, also known as Season X, would focus on time travel, and it started from August 1st of 2019 and it ended on October 13th. At the end of the season, the 0 point would explode and nobody would be able to play the game for many days until the start of Chapter 2, Season 1. The new and also recurring POIs of this season would include the Meteor, Tilted Town, Pandora, Moisty Palms, Gotham City, Starry Suburbs, and the return of Dusty Depot, Retail Row, the Cube, and Greasy Grove. Now that I mentioned every season in Chapter 1, I just want to talk about more about what made this game so popular. Besides the unique concepts and the aesthetic that attracted so many new players, there were also streamers who greatly contributed to the amount of people who wanted to try out the game. I found this one image showing some of the most popular streamers in July of 2018, and I just wanted to list the top 15. You have creators like Ninja, Tifu, Myth, Dakotas, Nick Merckx, Daquan, Tim the Tatman, Dr. Lupo, Cypher PK, Hyde Historian, Hamlins, Scissors, CDM the Third, Cloaksy, and Kurt JD. Honestly, I think the big three of the early Fortnite days would have to be Ninja, Myth, and Tifu. These three streamers would not only generate millions of views, but in my opinion, they would also be responsible for the popularity of the game as a whole. Another aspect that I briefly mentioned was live events. The whole concept of live events hasn't been done that much before, or at all, and each event, no matter how minor, brought in so much hype. Events such as the rocket launch, the blast off aftermath, the cube sinking, the butterfly event, the ice hatch excavation, the ice storm, showtime, earthquakes, volcanic excavation, the unvaulting event, and the final showdown, 0 point, and finally the end of chapter 1 were all just so fun to experience while being in a lobby with other people. One thing that I also liked about Fortnite were how many new POIs they added each season. You would have new places such as Anarchy Acre, Fatal Fields, Flush Factory, Gracie Grove, Lonely Lodge, Loot Lake, Moisty Mire, Pleasant Park, Retail Row, Wailing Woods, Dusty Depot, Salty Springs, Tomato Town, Haunted Hills, Junction, Shifty Shafts, Snobby Shores, Tilted Towers, Lucky Landing, Dusty Divot, Risky Reels, Lazy Links, Tomato Temple, Paradise Palms, Leaky Lake, Frosty Fights, Happy Hamlet, The Block, Lazy Lagoon, Sunny Steps, Mega Mall, Neo Tilted, Pressure Plant, Tilted Town, Moisty Palms, Gotham City, and Starry Suburbs. Just having all these new POIs during the span of 10 seasons was so exciting to see back then. Even if they remodeled something like Tilted Towers many times, all of those times would be something new and not just the old Tilted Towers. Were those memories pure nostalgia, or was the game actually better back then? In November 2023, the game would bring back Fortnite OG, and the highest player count ever recorded in Fortnite history would see 44.7 million people playing in a single day. The game would also have 6 million concurrent individuals playing at the same exact time, which is crazy to think about. Everyone thought the game was past its peak, but the simple idea of bringing back Chapter 1 even for a short amount of time allowed for so many people to relive the glory days. Even some people who never actually played the old Chapter 1 still experienced it and had so much fun and enjoyment while playing Fortnite OG. There was no crazy power-ups or anime attacks and all that. It was just simply OG Fortnite. During Season 4, which is my personal favorite, there was one LTM that definitely changed the game. I'm talking about the Infinity Gauntlet LTM. During this whole era, not only was Fortnite becoming a worldwide game that everyone loved, there was also Marvel, who were in the whole process of releasing Infinity War and Endgame. Imagine what you get when you see a collab between the most popular movie franchise and the current most popular game in the world. People would be terrified if they even heard the slightest movement, just because of how dominant the Infinity Gauntlet was. It seemed like anyone who actually became Thanos was basically indestructible, unless the whole lobby teamed on them. Kids in elementary school, middle school, and high school would wait for school to be over just so they could rush home and play Fortnite all day. Even adults would love the game and spend a lot of free time just playing Fortnite. Another reason why me and a lot of other people have fond memories of this game, or of Season 4, is that it was during the entirety of summer, which meant that we can play whenever we wanted with our friends. I also want to mention a stream that not only broke Fortnite, but broke the internet at the same time. Drake was an artist who released his very popular song known as God's Plan in January 19th of 2018. During this time, Ninja was also the face of Fortnite, and he would have thousands and thousands of viewers. On March 15th of 2018, Ninja would collaborate with Drake, Juju Smith, and Travis Scott. This collab would break records and have over 630,000 viewers at once. Just looking back at it, this collaboration just shows how insanely popular Fortnite was at this time. This day is probably one of the most iconic days in the history of Fortnite and Twitch as a whole. Rappers like Travis Scott and Drake playing a game with a Twitch streamer was something that no one expected, and it was pretty much a shock to everyone. Another aspect that brought upon a lot of enjoyment during this time was the competitive scene. During all of these chapters, or during this chapter, there would be tournaments such as Cash Cups, Pop-Up Cups, Winter Royale, and the World Cup, which were all a lot of fun to watch looking back at it. The early days of Fortnite competitive mentioned in an event known as the Summer Skirmish with a prize pool of $8 million. This tournament was so exciting to watch because the most well-known and the best players in the world were all playing and competing for real money. One event that shook the Fortnite scene was the World Cup. When Epic Games mentioned the $30 million prize pool, everyone was going crazy and wanted to do whatever it took to earn a small amount of this. This event would not only be for solos, but also for duos, and the qualifiers went on for months. One of the most iconic competitive moments, not only in Fortnite, but for gaming as a whole, would be when Booga took home the grand prize of $3 million. This domination of Booga throughout the whole tournament was pretty surprising to see, when you take into consideration that second place wasn't even close. Just to let you know how insane this tournament was, you had names like Epic Will, Mongrel, Clicks, Benji Fishy, Mr. Savage, Zate, Vivid, Tfue, Bucky, and many more names. The duo version would be won by Nyrox and Aqua. Nostalgia has been a huge thing that's always been mentioned in the Fortnite community. I even saw a post from 7 years ago talking about people being nostalgic when the game hasn't even been a year old. Keep in mind that kids who were in elementary school and in 5th grade back then are probably now starting college or doing something else. When we first tried out Fortnite, we all knew that this game was fun with its cartoonish style, but we didn't know how much we would actually miss the old days of Fortnite. I don't think that any game in history will ever be able to compete with Fortnite in terms of nostalgia except for maybe Minecraft. It wasn't just nostalgia that made the game seem more enjoyable back then. Everyone in the lobby would be around the same skill level, and the joy of getting a victory royale would take hours and even days for some people. As I mentioned before, getting a victory royale nowadays doesn't even make you feel excited. During Chapter 1, there wasn't just a community for PC players only. People would be playing on Xboxes, PlayStations, iPhones, iPads, Androids, and even Nintendo Switches. As a person who only owned an iPad and was active in the mobile community, I have to admit that it was such an enjoyable time playing with other people who only played on mobile devices. It seemed like every device had their own massive community, and everyone just simply wanted to get better or play with friends and get wins. Twitch wasn't just the sole factor for growing Fortnite's player count. You would also have to take into account how much of an impact YouTube had. It seemed like every YouTuber was hopping on this wave of Fortnite's popularity, and everyone in the world knew about the game. When mentioning the peak of Fortnite, we all know how November 2023 had the highest player count. But in terms of having a good time with friends and not getting bored of the game, I would definitely say that early Fortnite was the best at this. The simple skins in the battle pass, the unique graphics, the concept of building and shooting, the early lore that was getting added on to each counting season, the amount of leaks that would get the community excited, the events, the music within the lobbies, the battle passes, the fun and new LTM game modes, and the overall vibe of the players in itself just demonstrates how Chapter 1 of Fortnite will always remain at the top and stay there forever. Thank you for actually watching the video if you did. Please like and subscribe and check out my other content if